The part that Mom is worried about. Not really worried. Are we good, Dad? So, okay, there are many things that happen in every family. Dealing with these situations can help your relationship with God. I have dealt with many tough situations in my life. I've been tempted by Satan to follow him and give up on my relationship with God. I have learned from these experiences, and they have shaped me into the person I am today. My life began in December of 1988. I grew up in a loving home. My mom tells me that she was pregnant for almost 2 years because I wouldn't do anything without her. One evening, a family friend made my parents go out for the evening. I cried some more, but they never came back. I had decided that I was not going to take the bottle and eat. So this friend had to feed me through an eyedropper. That was the only way I would eat. I heard that Mom and Dad had a great evening out, but I don't know if that family friend had a good evening or not. My mom took me to church as a baby, and at this time my dad chose not to go. My mom grew up in a Christian home and went to church regularly. My dad went to Sunday school as a child, but not attended church. So from the beginning, it was my mom and I that went to church. I got pretty involved with different things in the church. I joined the puppet team, I helped out with VBS and fun clubs, I went to youth group, and many more. But I'll talk more about that later. I was an active child and joined into many different things. I started dance when I was 5 years old and stayed until I was 16, when my dance studio closed down. I also played soccer and started at the age of 5. Most of those years, I had my dad as coach. At age 11, I joined the puppetry ministry team here at the church and made some great friends. This team was a very rewarding and big part of my youth. We traveled all over and went to many different churches and secular events. One year, we figured out we did 65 performances. That included being sermons at churches, kids' parties, and that year we even did the Quackers Awards ceremony. In grade 6, I joined the youth group at church. Youth was where I met Pastor Neil. He really helped me grow in my walk with God and got me going to KBK for summer camps, KLC nowadays. It was a camp where I fully devoted my life to Christ and asked Jesus into my heart. I felt that my relationship with God was growing at a good pace, and I got baptized in September of 2001. Through the years, God grew stronger in my life, and I could see him working and helping others to work on their relationships with him as well. I was helping with VBS, fun clubs in the summer. I went on various ministry trips with the church and was going to church regularly. It was at this point when my dad decided to start coming to church and getting more involved. My dad and I joined the tech team in 2004, and we're doing sound for weddings and other projects around the church. At this point, I was the youngest person on the team, and I was the only female. I often referred to most of the guys in there as my surrogate fathers. Now the tech team has evolved and is a big part of my life. I've trained others to do some of the positions, and now I'm not only the only female or the youngest. The tech team is one thing in my life that my dad and I do together and has brought us a lot closer. My relationship with God was growing stronger day by day. Things were getting better. I was reading my Bible every day and working every day on my relationship with him. Then all of a sudden things went downhill. Neil passed away. I started to doubt my relationship with God and started wondering and questioning, why would he take someone that I was so close to? Why would he take someone in my life that has helped me through difficult situations? My relationship was getting harder and harder every day. It seemed like my life was just crumbling around me. I felt like I had no one to turn to, and I just wanted to end my life. I was trying to find a meaning in life and looking for someone that cared for me. I felt like I was going nowhere and just wanted to feel love. This was when my brother came and showed me love in his way. At this point in my life, I just wanted to feel accepted. My brother started doing things to show me how much he loved me, and that included doing sexual acts. He would tell me how much he loved me and that we needed to keep everything a secret. If our parents found out things, they would not like how he showed me love. I knew deep down that this was not right, but at the same time, I just wanted to feel loved and cared for. On a side note, and I know my parents don't know this, at this point in my life too, I was actually watching rape videos to make me feel like somebody, like it was the right thing in my life. The struggles included, I'm not saying that I didn't get love from my parents, but they were so focused on my brother and what was happening in his life and how to help him with his struggles. The struggles for him included doing drugs, drinking alcohol, girls, and fast cars. I felt like I was the good child and nothing was wrong in my life compared to what was happening in my brother's life. At that point in my life, my brother's friend came into my life. He was like a brother to me and helped me through many things. He showed me how God was working in my life and how there was something to live for. He was there for me through many things. He actually talked me out of a suicide attempt when I was away at school. My relationship was growing stronger and I was really relying on God again for the things and seeing him work in my life. Things were going well again, and then everything crumbled. My brother's friend committed suicide, and again, everything came crashing down. This was very unexpected and changed my mindset and how I looked at life. My dad initially was asked to do the eulogy at his funeral, and as a family, we would work with a group of friends and wrote the eulogy. Again, I started to question why. I was struggling in trusting God and seeing him work in my life. I was still going to church and putting on the mask and pretended to be someone I was not. I was going to make people happy so that people would not question. My relationship with God was almost non-existent, and I did not want anything to do with church or God. At this point, I had actually started to write poetry and write out my feelings and learning to cope with life in different ways. I felt like I was very good at masking my problems and pretending everything was just fine. This was when I actually wrote my first poem called Feelings, and I'll share that. And no one knows all the feelings deep inside of me, everything all bottled up for no one else to see. I want to show the world, I want them all to see all these feelings bottled up deep inside of me. The frustration and the anger, the sorrow and the pain. What is it from these in which I can gain? The love from family and friends, the fight with other peers, and even if you look deep enough, you might see some of my fears. The fear of losing someone or not knowing where to go. The fear of keeping everything bottled up and no one will ever know. They will never know these feelings, they will never see. All these feelings bottled up deep inside of me. It was at this point in my life when I needed to decide what I was doing moving forward. And I decided that I would go into therapeutic recreation. This course was offered in Saskatoon, and so I moved to Saskatoon for schooling. I took the first year of the course and actually decided to change into something else. I applied for the carried course here in Regina and was accepted into the course, but not till 2008. So I had a year to wait. I decided to go to Briarcrest for the year, and this is where I met some great friends. There was a group of 5 of us, and we did almost everything together. One time, we were visiting my parents here in Regina. We all showed up, and the group thought it would be funny to just drop their jackets and shoes where they landed. I warned them that things need to be put away, or Dad will throw everything out in the snowbank. They didn't believe me. To their shock, when they came back upstairs, everything was outside in the snow. Another time with this group for reading week, we decided we'd drive down to Minot for the week. Just imagine with me, 5 college students piled in a 2000 Pontiac Sunfire. We drove down to the border, and we were not at all shocked when we got told we need to pull over as they wanted to talk to us. What did you expect? 1 person from Saskatchewan, 1 person from BC, 2 people from Alberta, and 1 person from Minot who was driving the vehicle from Saskatchewan. In the end, it was a great trip. After my year at Briarcrest, I came home and went to Sask in Regina and took the Carried course. Everything in my life was going well and things were looking up. Again, that all changed one day when I got the scare in my life. I woke up in the morning and went to school. I was feeling fine. All of a sudden, I got a migraine headache, and within 5 minutes, I could not feel my left side. I was taken to the nurse. They checked me out and took me to the hospital. My blood pressure at that point was 163 over 109. My pulse was 163. While in the hospital, I got test after test after test, and they could not figure out what was going on. I spent 5 days in the hospital not knowing what was going on and with the doctors not able to figure out what was happening. They finally came up with a diagnosis and told me it was hemiplegic migraines. It was something very rare and not usual, and there was a possibility of it happening again. My migraine experience changed my life and showed me that there are people that care about me, and God is working in my life. The only people that came to visit me in the hospital when I was there the first time was friends that I'd met at church. And most of them prayed with me and asked for God's healing and for the doctors to be able to figure out what was happening. They helped me to see that it was God's way of showing me how He works and how He will help to get through tough situations. I've been dealing with these migraines since 2009. I have been in the hospital numerous times. I have worked with a few different neurologists, had very many med changes, and this has all been very taxing and trying to figure out everything. The doctors have still not figured everything out, and with trying different medications and everything, we're hoping things get better. My first job was actually at Dairy Queen as well as Sunset Extended Care. I worked in laundry, housekeeping, helped with recreation when needed. Right after that, I got my CCA certificate and started working as a care aide. I've been a care aide for 17 years and love my job. But if you were to ask me when I started work, I'd probably tell you at the age of 5. I loved going to work with my mom, and I would go to work at Sunset with her for the day. I loved being there and getting to help and be there for the patients. I worked at Sunset for a few years, and then I went into home care. In home care, I worked with seniors, pediatrics, geriatrics, and all of the above. I loved working with pediatrics and watching them grow and learn. I will definitely say there are good days and bad days. Most of these kids were nonverbal, but they had their way of communicating. The story I always tell is about my one kid and I taking him to the ice cream shop and asking him what he wanted. I got many looks from people not knowing what was happening and shocked in amazement when they realized what I was doing. I was asking him what he wanted, and I knew there was a noise for yes and a noise for no. When I got to the one he wanted, he was very excited, and people saw his way of communication. As I mentioned as well, there were some not so good days. Yes, dealing with death is not easy, but it's part of the job. But having to watch a 16-year-old take her last breath is not something I would like to do again. I was on the pediatric team for just over a year and then moved into community. Community also has its good days and bad days as well. Many of the good days knowing that I was the only person that the patient would see. Getting to hear their stories and know their families was some of the best part of my day. I will never forget going on into my one patient who I always sat with her in the morning while she had her coffee. Then we'd go upstairs, put on our stockings, and that would be our visit. When I got there the one day, I rang the doorbell. There was no answer. This was not like her. I used the lockbox to get into the house and walked in. I called out to the patient, and again, no answer. I walked upstairs and found her in bed. I tried to wake her up, but there was nothing. I called 911 and told them what was going on, and the next thing I knew, there was police, fire, and ambulance all at the house. I was questioned as to what had happened and had to write a statement. I didn't know what to do and felt so lost. The patient was fine the day before, and all of a sudden, she was gone. I stayed in home care for a few years, then transitioned over to the transitional care unit. This is where I'm working now, and while being there, I've also gone and done some temporary positions and worked in the hospitals as well as worked in the morgue. Yeah, you heard that right. I worked in the morgue. I worked as what's called an autopsy tech and saw many different things. I worked from forensic cases as well as everyday cases. I autopsied babies all the way up to geriatrics. I worked on murder victims as well as drug traffickers. This was a very eye-opening experience and is not for the faint at heart. I have now moved back to TCU and working with a variety of different patients. I love my job and I will continue to help people wherever I can. In 2013, I thought I had found the perfect person for me and was very happy. Things were going well and we got engaged. This was when everything changed. He started to manipulate me and use my medical issues against me. I told him I was not able to have children and I would have to go off my meds or have a drug-dependent child. I told him about my past with my brother. He told me that he was not happy and would do everything he could to make things right, and for me to just watch and see what happened. I later found out that he threatened to kill my brother, as well as going to show up at his work one day and oust him. He would beg me to go off my meds as he wanted a child, and he had told me he would take my meds away and he would do whatever it takes to have a child. I told him that I would not let this happen, and he lost it. He smashed out the window of his vehicle and began to kick me. I tried to leave him, and yet he would still show up and act like nothing's wrong. I finally got out, and he sent me a letter stating how he was still going to oust my brother and make my life a living hell. A few years later, my parents were gone down to Arizona, and I'd been hanging out with one of my good friends. She asked if her boyfriend could come along and he would bring a friend with him. I was worried at first and wanted to cancel, but I put myself out there and went. This was where I met Steve. We got along great and started hanging out more and more and getting to know each other. We were getting closer and became a couple. Told Steve about my past and how I was not able to have children. He supported me through everything and was fine with me not being able to have kids, as he already had a daughter and she would be a part of our lives. I met Vera. We hit it off right from the start. She was a beacon of hope in my life, and I was excited to see where things went. Things with Vera were on and off. We were trying to work on our relationship as well as figure out things with her that were taxing, but we made it work. It's come to the point now where Vera did not want to see us anymore, and she was her own person. This has been hard on us, but we've talked about it and worked on things together. With all these things happening in my life, my mental health was deteriorating. I was struggling to keep up good spirits and learn how to put on the happy mask and pretend everything was okay. I was self-isolating and making up excuses to not go out. I would only leave the house when I was asked to work, and otherwise I would stay home. One day, while I was looking through garage sale, I saw a post looking for someone that self-isolates and struggles with mental health. I sent a message to them and the journey of making a documentary about my life was started. I wanted to share my story, but didn't know how to go about it. These girls were working on their final project for their journalism class. We worked together for a few months, and in the end, made a 24-minute video about what I go through on a daily life. Things were getting better in my life, and people that have seen the video were reaching out and saying how great it was that I could share my story. My life now consists of working and volunteering with a variety of different things and helping my community. Volunteering is something that Mom and I do together. My dad calls my mom the volunteer queen, so I guess that makes me the volunteer princess. We were helping in many different places. We got in with the Riders and have been with them for 11 years. We've also volunteered with Salvation Army, figure skating, etc. While doing this volunteer work, I was looking for something to do on my own and getting out in the community myself. This is when I got involved with the dog rescues, and in the end, have rescued 2 dogs, which was Ivy and Willie. They are my children, and they will always be there to comfort me and help me through my tough days. You may wonder where my parents were all this time. They were with me all the time, loving and caring for me. To be completely honest, my parents didn't find out about much of this stuff until a few years ago. What I'd like to bring to your attention is people dealing with related issues have the unique ability to mask what is happening. I urge you, if you think someone is struggling, whether it be a child, a grandchild, a friend, encourage them to seek help. Offer a listening ear and let them know that they are not alone. I write poetry, so I wrote a poem all about masking. This mask I have is hard to put away. Sometimes I think it is here to stay. It hides many things in this life I live. It hides both things that are negative and positive. When the mask is sitting on the shelf, it is holding all the memories within itself. When it is off the shelf and on my face, some of the things it brings with it is hard to embrace. It's hard to keep off that mask. Some people will ask, "Are you okay?" The answer will be, "Yes, I am today." That's the mask peeking through. The answer it gives are usually untrue. When this mask comes off, you can see someone that is free to run, free to dance, free to be who she wants to be. Someone wishing she could keep this mask off forever. If this did happen, the true self you would uncover. With all these situations, I have fully devoted my life to Christ again. It shows me that things happen for a reason, and that there is a reason for everything that happens in life. I finally saw that things that have happened have been Satan testing my relationship with God, and it was to show how God is working in me. My relationship is growing stronger and is still growing. I feel God working through me. I find that God has really shaped me into the person I have always wanted to be and helped me grow in my relationship, as well as help others grow in their relationship by hearing my story. I want to end off with another poem I wrote and hope that hearing my story will help others. This face has been through a lot. It's been through joy and pain, anger and sorrow. It's been happy and sad, scared and mad. It's been in love and heartbroken, alone and free. But through all of those feelings, there are things it's never forgot. It never forgot to rejoice in the joy of friendship and laugh in the face of pain. It never forgot to accept the anger and not dwell in the sorrow. It never forgot to be happy when times are tough and rely on others when sad. It never runs away when scared or holds a grudge when mad. It never forgot the love shown by family or friends, especially when it has a broken heart. It never forgot it's not alone, as God is always by its side, and it's always free to be itself. By never forgetting these things, this face can make it through anything.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you for taking the time